well as top athletes and entertainers in Hollywood, Roland S. Martin is a journalist who has always maintained a clear sense of his calling in the world. Martin is the host and managing editor of Roland Martin Unfiltered, the first daily online show in history focused on news and analysis of politics, entertainment, sports, and culture from an explicitly African-American perspective. Since 2008, Martin has been a senior analyst for the Tom Joyner Morning Show, where his daily segment is heard on more than 100 stations by 8 million people daily. He is the author of 3 books and has contributed to several others. He has been named 4 times by Ebony magazine as one of the 150 most influential African Americans in the United States. We are excited and honored to have him as our guest speaker tonight. Please help me share a warm welcome to Mr. Roland Martin.
I'm glad y'all invited me now, so invited me as cold as hell in the state. I'm born and raised in Houston. I lived in Chicago 6 years. I swear I've been invited to speak in Ohio a lot. And it's always February or March. I run the ice storms, snowstorms. And so luckily I got to wear sweats today. So I appreciate that. Not only the lights on, I like seeing people. Otherwise, I look like a club in here. There you go. That's right. Plus, I like seeing people's reaction when I say something. I always say that because, a lot of times what happens when somebody supposed to speak, people are, no, they make people feel good. I said, you won't always make folks feel good and comfortable. She invited my wife. She's an ordained minister. Pray with you, counsel you, lay hands on you. I always say God has given her this wonderful spirit of comfort. God has given me a spirit of discomfort. You see me on television. I make folks real uncomfortable when they say crazy stuff. I guess what Fox News won't call me. But it is good to be here. Good to see you here. And it's always important when we talk about what's happening really in this country economically, and it's really what I want to focus on. And I was sent a number of notes, and one of the things they said is they wanted me to speak about this idea of being a change agent. But the reality is, now, if you had the title of this, I would dare say, you cannot be a change agent unless you change. You cannot be a change agent unless you change. So turn to the person to your left and ask them the question, what exactly are you trying to change? Now why don't you turn to your right and ask your other neighbor, what exactly are you trying to change? So I listened to several people come up tonight. I listened to them come to the microphone and talk about changing this community and moving it forward. And it is always interesting to me when I hear that because it sounds great. When I watch the video of Procter & Gamble talking about diversity, inclusion, and why that matters, it sounds great. Well, the issue for me always is there's a difference between what sounds great and then what reality actually looks like. See, it's very easy to say we want to get together and we want to move things forward and we want to be united. It's very easy to say we want to paint a different picture of a community than what folks hear from the outside. when I did research and folks got a little touchy here, this was ranked one of the worst cities for black folks in America. Folks like, no, that's not the case, that's not the case. And what I've discovered is that we are very good at wanting to defend where we're from, but not being as honest about what really is happening. I remember when Arne Duncan was Secretary of Education under Obama, and he said publicly, he said that there are a lot of white suburban students who are not as smart as they think they are. Lord, white folk lost their mind across the country. Arne had to apologize, and I was talking to him. He said, Roland, what I said was true. They ain't that smart. See, we have this whole different view of what's ours, and a lot of us say that our schools are great when they're not. We say that our health system is wonderful when it's not. We love to say that our business climate is great, but it's not for everybody. We always say that, no, we all get along. And I remember when I was speaking at an MLK event, Wilmington, Delaware, for DuPont, and they had on symbol on stage this whole diverse group of students, and they were talking about how they get along and how it's great and how they have this wonderful racial dynamic. And I'm listening to all this, and I'm like, y'all right. And so finally, I then said to the students, I said, well, let me ask you a question. I said, I'm just curious. Who do you eat lunch with? And the young lady said, what do you mean? I said, you eat lunch. Who do you eat lunch with? She said, well, I eat lunch with my friends. I said, I got you. Well, what do your friends look like? And as I kept asking that question, I could tell they started doing the butt dance. That's what happened when you're in the chair. You start like moving like, ooh, this is getting real uncomfortable. That's what happened with my opponents on TV. And I kept pushing it, and as I kept asking the question, what really happened was that most of the white students ate lunch with their white counterparts, most of the black students ate lunch with black folks, most of the Latino folks ate lunch with Latinos. I said, so really what y'all doing here is y'all lying. The whole room was quiet, just like y'all. Then I turned to the parents in the room and I said, y'all are the actual culprits of this, because I can guarantee you dinner at your house mirrors the lunches of your children. See, if we really want to get, you take this room here. So we're here, it's great, folks are all gathered. If you look across this room, it's racially diverse. I see white folks and black folks, I see young folks and old folks. But ask yourself the question, does your dinner table look like this room? Now see, when you start asking that question, people get really uncomfortable. Because see, this is what I call somewhat involuntary situations. You really don't control who shows up at the table next to you. But you do control who you invite to your house. And see, when we really begin to ask this question, what kind of world we live in, the fact of the matter is, we still live in our own silos, our own segregated communities. We still live in our own worlds, but we still largely go to white churches and black churches, but we still don't really truly know each other, which is why when some things happen, folks are like, well, how did this happen? Because frankly, we don't know the person who's across the street, across the city, or even across the cubicle from us at work. So that's why when I pose the question, what are you trying to change? You have to answer that, because you can't be a change agent unless, first of all, you know what you're trying to change and whether or not you have changed yourself. I'm in an industry where we have been quite critical of mainstream media. I always get a kick out of, and it happened when I was at CNN for 6 years, I always get a kick out of listening to these conversations where when there's a story that they begin to say, well, what is the Republican Party going to do to reach out to black folks? And they start talking about lack of diversity, things along those lines. And I always go, well, how about the lack of diversity at your media company? I said, see, it's real easy to question lack of diversity in the Republican Party, but they don't want to answer the question, what's the lack of diversity at CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, CBS, NBC, Hollywood Studios. I can go down the whole line. You see, it's real easy to question what somebody else is doing and not look at yourself. And that really is, I believe, one of the fundamental problems that we have in America, is because we say we want this diverse world, we say we are loving and accepting, but when we truly look ourselves in the mirror, I keep saying we're lying to ourselves. And see, that makes people uncomfortable, because guess what? Looking in the mirror is uncomfortable. It really is, because it forces you to actually look at yourself and your flaws, and look at your body shape and your hair and your face, and some people don't look at themselves. And that, to me, I think is one of our fundamental problems, because unless we are truly willing to look at ourselves, warts and all, we are never going to be able to be the nation we say we are on paper. So this year you've seen these events taking place, especially in Virginia and across the country. This is the 400th anniversary of the first 20-odd Africans arriving enslaved in Virginia in 1619. New York Times did a project called the 1619 Project, and all these different stories that were done, all the different things that were happening. And when we begin to unpack that, folks begin to say, well, and I love this because this always happens. We have these debates. Folks always go, yeah, I know all those things you cite, but hasn't it gotten better? See, we are real good at trying to get to the hasn't it gotten better part, as opposed to dealing with the hell that it really is, because we're trying to make ourselves comfortable with what we have accomplished. But see, I can't always just get so excited about the transformation that's taking place, because as Jackie Robinson said in his book, I Never Had It Made, he said, which is the reason he titled it, he said, as long as there is one black man or black woman who was not free in America, I never had it made. See, we hold up Jackie Robinson. I love April 15th. We celebrate her. Major League Baseball West, number 42. We talk about how wonderful he was, how he broke the color barrier. But we don't want to deal with what Jack Robinson had to go through and what he was still dealing with when he died in 1972. See, I'm laying this out because the challenge that we have in this country is that unless we confront how we got to this point, we will never have a true understanding of where we are today, and then where we're going in the future. We'll never be able to deal with that. We'll never be able to deal with in terms of where we're going on. I was on a plane flying here, and I was reading Vanity Fair and reading a story about corruption in South Africa. And I was reading this story where they were talking about how when South Africa was transformed and Nelson Mandela became president, how you had black folks in South Africa, 72% of the population, 9% of the wealth. Then you begin to look in this country in terms of where we stand. When you look at the income inequality gap, when you say average white family in the country has $110,000 wealth, average African American family has $5,000. When you look at in terms of how we got here, it's amazing when I have these conversations. I had one on Sunday with a couple of guys, and they were like, well, why every time you keep talking, you keep trying to go back to history? I said, well, excuse me, I actually read a book. They could not understand why I was talking about economics, and I kept bringing up 1863, 1865, 1877, bringing up 1920, 1930. I said, because if you don't understand how we got to the point we are now, then you can't even remotely understand how we confront it. We are 24 years away, folks, from America becoming a nation that is majority people of color. And the reality is, if we look at where America is economically today, we will be looking like South Africa in 2043. If we don't understand that we are all in this thing together, and I was talking to these guys, and they were talking about, well, can't we just stop talking about what's going on, and it was immigration, all kinds of stuff like that. And I told them, two white guys, I said, do y'all understand that right now the average annual white death rate in 17 states is higher than the average annual birth rate? I was like, look, man, this thing ain't changing. You are not going to have all of a sudden white Americans pop out a whole bunch of kids real quick. It's just not going to happen. And see, and I'm saying that because I'm looking at where we are going. I'm looking at, in terms of where we are as a country, I'm looking at what is happening in this country. I'm looking at manufacturing. I'm looking at what has happened to that sector. I'm looking at the middle of the country where you're living. I'm looking at where jobs have gone. I'm looking at where people are going. And for some reason, too many of us are still trying to hope 1972 returns. And guess what? That ain't happening. We are changing and evolving as a nation. Which means that if we are changing and evolving as a nation, we must begin to understand what we must do to be change agents to actually be a difference maker. We must begin to say, well, if we're trying to grow black businesses in this city, then the question then becomes, first and foremost, what is the state of these businesses? Not just access to capital, but also what type of businesses. What contracts are they getting? What is being received? How are doors being opened? How are we doing what Maynard Jackson did when he took over as the mayor of Atlanta in a city that was predominantly African American, yet African Americans were receiving 0.0012% of all city contracts, meaning for every $100 spent, there's about 12 cents on black folks. He said, no, that's just not going to happen. And there were forces who fought him vehemently because he dared to say, we will not be the city in the future if the current economic trends stay the same. When Maynard Jackson's term was up and he stepped out, it was quite interesting because not a single major law firm in Atlanta would hire the most revolutionary mayor in its history. They were so angry. Let me tell you how angry white business class was at Maynard Jackson. They literally circulated a letter and said, nobody can buy more than 2 tickets to his going away party. Maynard Jackson had to go to Chicago to secure a job at a law firm. Because he dared to change an economic system that he saw and knew was inherently unfair. Which means that if we're talking about how do we become change agents, that means that when we leave this dinner, we must go back to our places of work, go back to our institutions, city, county, school districts, and begin to ask the question, what do we look like, and do we have equality or inequality in our system? And if we have inequality, how are we going to fix it? Because paying lip service to it does nothing. What it requires is for people of conscience to say, I'm not going to be silent, and then make excuses when we know we can do better. Right. Al Newhart was the CEO of Gannett, owned USA Today, largest publisher time in the country. Al Newhart was CEO. Al Newhart said that Gannett is going to be the leading company, the leading media company when it comes to diversity in the country. Al Newhart tied the bonuses of his managers to who they hired. And there were people who said, Al, this is wrong, it's unfair, you should not be tying my bonuses to who I hire. He said, well, clearly, for some reason, you refuse to interview black people and Latinos and women and promote them, so the only way I can get your attention is to hit you in your pocketbook. And Al Newhart said, if you don't like the new policy, you are welcome to leave the company. And there were folks who got upset and actually left. But what he understood that the only way change was going to happen is if he, as the leader of the company, required it, demanded it,
ordered it, and then saw it through, and that is exactly what has to happen in this city, in this state, in this country, because I am sick and tired of us paying lip service to this whole notion of diversity and inclusion. Then we look at the numbers 5 and 10 years down the road, and we saw barely a blip, and people say, well, it's hard. No, you a leader. You getting paid to lead, well, damn it, lead. To understand how things change when leaders lead. John LeGrand is the CEO of FX Networks. And he sent an email out one day, and he said to all of his executives, he said, I need someone to answer the question, how is it that 88% of the television shows on our network are led by white men? He said America is 50%, more than 50% female. We're changing because of people of color. He said this makes no sense. He said this will change at FX. And in 6 months, they completely changed the showrunners, they completely changed the type of shows. In 6 months, because the CEO dared to say, look, he said, I'm a white guy, but clearly there are other people who have creative ideas on who can run shows. He was a leader. And the reason I believe that too many places in this country have not changed is because we have too many so-called leaders who are weak and impotent and who don't want to have the courage and the conviction to lead, and they're unwilling to look their friends and their co-workers in the eye and say, it's time to actually change, whether you like it or not. See, I can always tell how this topic is really hard for a lot of people. There's a reason I said turn the lights up. And the reason I said turn the lights up, because see, I wanted to see your eyes. I wanted to see your body language. I wanted to see whether you like him, how much longer he gonna be talking. Because what I'm talking about is the hard stuff that requires us to change. And if we look at our history, we have to understand that it has never been easy to get people to change, because too many of us are comfortable where we are, comfortable in our positions, comfortable with the status quo, and if only a few get through, we say, hey, it was a great job, when that simply is not enough. What I'm talking about is that if we want to change our cities, if we want to make them grow, we want to make them better, it's going to require individuals who are in leadership. It's going to require elected officials to have guts and conviction. It's going to require CEOs to lead. It's going to require pastors to stop preaching one word on Sunday and doing something totally different on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's going to require school districts and principals and administrators to say the status quo cannot continue. At some point, we need leaders to show up and actually represent the people the way they're supposed to do, and all of the people. If you are not truly challenging your system, challenging your company, challenging your business to say, how can we change and grow, you're doing a disservice not only to your employees, you're doing a disservice to your family, because America and the world is changing before your very eyes. And if I dare say you don't change, trust me, you might be out of a job real soon. To understand, we look at right now, black businesses. The center you're trying to open, why is that important? Right now in America, there are 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America. 2.5 million of them have one employee. Those businesses are doing an average revenue of $54,000. 6 years ago, we had 1.9 million black-owned businesses. 1.8 million had one employee. They were doing an average revenue of $110,000, which means we have seen an increase of 700,000 black-owned businesses in America, yet their average revenue has been cut in half. To understand, and I love people who somehow say, well, we're all on the same page, we're all equal. No, we're not. 2014, the Wall Street Journal had a story across the front of their newspaper that said in 2013, $23.09 billion in loans were made to small businesses, and black-owned businesses received $385 million out of the $23.09 billion that was loaned out. Yeah. When you look at venture capitalists, when it comes to technology companies, they literally are funding black-owned tech companies to the tune of less than 1.5% of the dollars. When you talk about access to capital, the ability to grow, that is the lifeblood of any business, and if you actually want to choke the future, all you gotta do is simply cut off the money. Which means that you have to have banks who begin to say, what's going on here? Why are we seeing this imbalance? I go back to Maynard Jackson. He did something that was powerful. As a matter of fact, if you're an elected official, stand up. Stand up. Now, don't sit down. When Maynard Jackson was the mayor of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson called in the banks and said, here are businesses that have received city contracts. They can't afford to float their companies for 180 days for us to pay. So I want you as the banks that are receiving money, the city is putting the money in your banks, to extend lines of credit to businesses that we've already said we're giving city contracts to. The banks told Maynard Jackson, hell no. Maynard Jackson said, fine, city treasurer, come into my office. I need you to remove the city's money out of their banks. He said, because if you won't loan to Atlanta businesses, you won't be able to access Atlanta dollars. They're like, hey, hold up. They changed their policy. Which means that as public officials, one way to challenge folks when it comes to lines of credit is to say, if you were depositing school money, city money, county money into banks, require those banks to extend lines of credit to companies that are doing business with you. That's not a racial set-aside. That's not a female set-aside. That's you supporting businesses that are in your city. That's how you use your political power to change economics. See, that's what I mean by being a change agent. How do you use your power to effect change? Pastors, stand up. That's it. A lot of atheists in this city. Okay, now you a pastor and you're not standing up. I hope your members are here. Leave that church because you got a fake pastor. So if you, last time, if you're a pastor, stand up. Okay, all right. In Chicago, Reverend James Meeks pastors Salem Baptist Church, the largest black church in Illinois. At the time, Bill Hybels was pastor of Willow Creek, the largest white church in Illinois. Bill Hybels and Meeks got together, they were friends, and they said, we have to do something when it comes to the fact that 10 a.m. on Sunday is the most segregated hour of the week. So Meeks and Hybels began to preach at one another's churches. What they then did next was, they then swapped
their choirs. Now, that was a real interesting experience when a black choir went to the white church. And then when that white choir went to the black church, it was a little different in both of those churches. What they then did was they then switched congregations. And for the first time, you had black folks and white folks who were literally worshiping at the same time the same God in one service. Then members at Willow Creek and members at Salem Baptist Church, they got together and said, well, what if we get together and actually move into a neighborhood? And so several families at Willow Creek and several families at Salem Baptist Church began to talk about where could they move to change a neighborhood. Now, why am I saying that? It's because these pastors led. They said if we cannot, we will force our folks to sit down with one another and actually learn from one another, because as pastors we are supposed to lead. We can't talk about the power of Jesus Christ on Sunday if we are not practicing Christianity and love for one another every day of the week. What I'm laying out to you is community transformation. I'm not interested in small baby steps. I think we are very good at small baby steps. We're real good at the small stuff. No, I'm saying that if you truly want to be change agents, you've got to think big. You've got to think much larger. You've got to also begin to put some teeth into it and begin to say, if we have X number of businesses today, how many do we want to have in 5 years? Tracking that and saying, okay, this year, how many of these black-owned businesses, how many of these female-owned businesses were able to get capital, and then how many did we increase by next year? And begin to measure that in hardcore ways. Because all these touchy-feely ways in which we lead really have not done much, because we don't have time for games, because our children are watching our very move. And if we truly say we want to be difference makers, the only way to do it is to actually be aggressive in making it happen. And what it also does is challenges you as an individual to go further than you may have wanted to go harder than you may have wanted to stretch yourself. And that's the only way it changes. Otherwise, you will come back here next year, the year after that, the year after that, and it ends up being a similar conversation, real feel good, hand out awards, you feel great, get you a nice chicken dinner, should have had some peach cobbler, go home, and then what changed? In fact, what this dinner really should serve, this dinner should serve the same purpose as when couples renew their vows. If you renewed your vows, stand up. You renewed your vows, stand up. You ever did that? Y'all didn't get married here, huh? I see why y'all ain't got preachers. Y'all ain't got nobody get married. When people renew their vows, don't sit down. You renewed your vows. Stand up. Stand up. She's like, I don't know. When people renew their vows, the purpose of that is called renew. It's to remind. It's for one another to recommit themselves. Every person, y'all take a seat. Every person should use this dinner not as an opportunity just to say, hey, that's great. No, it should be a recommitment to the cause of advancing economic parity in this city and this state. And that should be the design, and that you should leave here every single year more on fire to change than you did the previous 364 days. You should walk out of here saying, what more can we do? How far can we go? How can we push? How can we challenge? Who can we talk to? Who wasn't here who should have been here? We're not going to wait for them to show up. We as collectively will go to their offices, go to their business, and say, we need you in the game.
nation changed. When you study the Black freedom movement, the Civil Rights movement, it was African Americans who were on the front lines, who were marching, ordinary people who did extraordinary things. But for every Fannie Lou Hamer, you had a Viola Uzo, a white woman in Michigan who could have easily stayed home, but she said no. Black folks deserve to vote and drove down to Selma, Alabama to assist SCLC in registering folks to vote. Dr. King gave that speech, was sent to Montgomery. After that successful march, she was driving back to Selma and taking one of the riders, and it was a pickup truck that rolled up next to her. 3 men were inside, 3 Klansmen pulled a shotgun off, blew her head off, and killed her. She was one of the martyrs of the movement. When they were in Selma, James Reed, the pastor from the Northeast, was beaten to death because he dared to stand with Black folks in Selma when it came to voting rights. Heather Heyer was killed in Charlottesville when a car plowed right into her. Why am I saying that? Because economic freedom cannot be achieved by African Americans alone. It must require Black folks and white folks and Latinos and men and women and Christians and non-Christians to stand together and say, if we live here, if we worship here, if we are educated here, then we must be all willing to be in this together, and that's the only way it is going to change. America will not look back to what it used to be. America is going forward, and you have to make a decision today whether or not you are willing to be someone who 25 or 50 years from now, they will come to this dinner and say, thank God that person at that appointed time chose to use their power to be a change agent. The sad thing for us will be to come here 25 years from now, and we're talking about folks who did the work 25 years ago. The sad thing would be if we're only talking about our ancestors and we're not creating new heroes and new sheroes and new change agents. The work you put in today to change things economically here will benefit your children's children's children. This is a lineage thing. This is a legacy thing. And there's no greater legacy for your children's children to say, thank God my mama and my daddy or my grandmother and my grandfather had the willingness and the courage to stand up in the face of adversity, to tell their friends and country club members and colleagues, I'm going to do this. And even if it means losing some friends, even if it means losing some colleagues, we know that it will be a difference maker when you look down the road. The only way we can truly call this United States of America if people of like mind and consciousness is willing to come together and join together and be a change agent. But in order for you to do it, you must put in the work. In order for you to do it, you must stop being scared. In order for you to do it, you must be willing to look friends in the eye and say, you don't agree, that's fine, I can find me a new set of friends. What it means is that if you are black, you got to invite some white folks to your house. You can't, as white folks, to invite black folks to your house. What it means is that we must use every lever that we have to be a change agent. And all I'm saying is, it's time for you to do like the old folks said, put your overalls on, put your workbooks on, and it's time for us to get to work.
One more round of applause for Roland Martin, everyone. And at this time, I'd like to have someone from Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated come up and present Roland Martin with a gift.
Oh, I'm not getting a selfie.
Good evening.
How's it going?
We thank you so very much for sharing this time with the residents of Lima. I was in Houston and I saw this entourage of women following someone, and I thought I noticed in the Pope, and you couldn't see who was in the middle of the crowd. And I said, what is going on? And they say, that's Roland Martin. There were old women who could hardly stand up. They laid their walkers down. And I said, oh, Roland draws a crowd. But I want to say truly from the bottom of our hearts, as members of Alpha Kappa Alpha, we just want to give you a token. And I thought, I know him visually from when I see pictures, but you wear your pink real well. You wear it extremely well. So when you return back to your resident, please share with your partner that there's nothing romantic tied to our gift to you. It's just to cherish what you have to share and give us some charge in the communities that you do attend. And I'd like for you to see the women of the sorority in this community. We've only been here since 1990, and I was listening to you. And we've tried to reach out. We're about scholarships, but this time we have a task we took on. We did Juneteenth. And it was a risk. And everyone was somewhat shaky. And Bart is somewhere here walking around. So I sent my program person to Bart and asked how we could connect with Bart and his art group. Immediately, he was elated. He shared with us. We went to one of the areas of Lima that kids don't get an opportunity to socialize. And I said, if it's to be done, it's up to us. We were very grateful for those partners that came in to help us put it on. We centered on the arts, we centered on any number of things, and we had 1,200 attendees, the first one. We didn't have one behavior incident, and these were kids in school systems that they said that these kids are at risk, they have problems, they don't focus, not one incident. And I think the Lima police was kind of concerned because they didn't get calls, and they cruised through. We were all so well behaved. They had to cruise on or kind of watch what was going on. In fact, they cooked for the kids and we fed them. And I say we still need to connect and we need to provide that opportunity to grow our own. And I'm a Southern girl, and they always say you can tell the worth of a person if they speak with a forked tongue, see which direction the voice is going. So, thank you, Roland. We appreciate everything that you do to represent us and represent yourself. Enjoy.
My wife can tell, she's gonna get mad, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right, and just a few reminders, we will have a book signing following this presentation or the ceremony. And I want to thank all of you for your support and attending this event tonight, and good night.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
This is Diala Riddle, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay woke.
This is Director X, the director of Superfly on the red carpet, or the black carpet, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Yo, what up, y'all? This is Jay Ellis, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I'm Lex Scott Davis, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Jacob Lattimore, and you're now watching Roland Martin right now.
You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play.